Hey guys, what's up? It's me, Joshua Siliruka here, your host of the Impact Podcast Show. Now, I just want to share two things before I introduce our next special guest on the Impact Podcast Show. And so the first thing I want to do is I would like to say thank you. I want to say thank you to everyone that is tuning on or listening to this podcast, either through Spotify or Apple Podcasts. But I also want to say thank you to those out there who are watching this video through our YouTube channel. Now, if you are on our YouTube channel, make sure you guys like this video if you are receiving some value, and also comment, give us your question. If you guys got any questions or anything that you'd love to say, we'd love to hear your thoughts out. So make sure you guys comment down below. But most importantly, I would love for you guys to subscribe to our YouTube channel and make sure you guys click on that bell button for the latest updates on our next video. So that's the first thing I wanted to share. But the second thing I'd love to share is I'd like to state our mission, and our mission is simple. Our mission is to focus on impacting the one. And so if you're getting impacted by this podcast, I encourage you all to share this to someone else that can benefit from this. Because remember, it only takes one person to change someone's life, and that could possibly be you, and that would be cool. Now, guys, that is all done. Now, what I want to do is I would love to introduce our next special guest. But before I actually introduce her, I want to just say a big shout out to my man Logan Brown for organizing this podcast episode to run through. I was actually fortunate enough to connect with him. It's like we were connecting as strangers, and now we're brothers now. So I'm so fortunate enough to be connecting with him, and he's been actually been able to connect me to our next special guest. And so, guys, I'm keen, right? I'm keen and excited for you all, fam, because I know that this woman on the other side of the state, she's currently in Queensland. She has a story that I know that will impact you, and we're all about impacting the one, and I know that you guys are going to be impacted too. And so I know that she has a story that she's going to be sharing. I did watch her video just before I started, and I'm going to be honest, it actually made me a bit teary. So we are going to get more into her story and how she ended up getting to where she is now, and I can't wait for you guys to hear her out. So other than that, guys, I would like you all to please welcome Sapphire Noble. Thank you, sis, for jumping on.
Oh, good. I'm excited.
Yes. So, yes, I just want to say thank you so much for taking your time. I know that time is valuable, and I know that you do have a busy schedule, and so I'm keen and excited. But I guess the first thing I probably want to, get into is that, we have people on here on the Impact Podcast Show who are probably from your following, but we also do have our Impact family or our Impact community that do jump on board on the weekly basis, and so they're probably listening onto this saying, I have no clue who she is. So is there any chance that you can possibly share just a bit about who you are?
So I'm Sapphire, obviously, and I have come. Probably the main thing about me is my weight loss. So the main thing people recognize about me is my weight loss, which because I've lost about 70 kilos just in the comfort of my own home, just battling the mind games and not really changing up the diet, just eating in moderation. So a lot less amounts. So that's what I'm known for. Weight loss. It's a good thing.
Yeah. No, 100%. I think, like even just you sharing that, like I know that for me, I was in a similar page. I wasn't as big, but one thing that I was struggling with was losing that weight, and I did get into that. Eating moderately and like just kind of like focusing on your portions, and so. Yeah, I'm actually keen. To get more into your story, because as you mentioned, like that's kind of like the big news about you is that you end up losing so much weight. But I guess my question to you now, just even you just showing now, I just want to kind of get straight into it, into what you're talking about in terms of your eating. So did you want to kind of share just a bit of context as to what you do in terms of like right now, like in terms of like your job and stuff?
Now I kind of help people who are in a similar spot to me. So my passion, like from the start of my weight loss, I documented everything. I took photos of myself every single day. And I did that because I wanted that after photo. I wanted to be able to throw that out there to the world and see, look, it's possible. It is possible if you just keep going. And that's the main thing. So now I train people from my own comfort zone, because that was my thing. Like I was too scared to go outside. I was too scared, afraid of being judged and afraid of people looking at me. But really nobody was. It was just all in my head. So I stayed inside my garage with the door closed and just ran on my treadmill and just worked out by myself. And that's kind of the thing that I want to help other people with. I want to bring them into my comfort zone because that is out of theirs. And so that's a big step already. So training people in a comfortable environment, that's what I do now.
Yeah. Oh man. And like it's funny because that is so important. You know, it's so important. You know, not just as a trainer, but you training. You know, you training in your own. I guess yes. When it comes to training, like you do get out of your comfort zone in terms of like pain. You know, going through excruciating pain and like that's the only way that you're able to grow. But most importantly, like putting people in a position where they're comfortable to actually be uncomfortable. And that, I guess that's something that that you can relate to.
That's actually the biggest part of it. Like the weight loss, for me, my weight came off and I had lost 60 kilos, but I was still not okay with going outside and going to the shop and things like that. It took me a long time to get past that.
Yeah. And you mentioned too about the mind. It was like a mind game. So what was it exactly that you were kind of dealing with in terms of the mindset?
So I was kind of like well, let's start at the start. So I had tried lots of times to lose weight. Like this wasn't the only time. I tried heaps of times, but the thing that changed at this round was that I had lost my baby. I had lost my last child, and that kind of made me start thinking, you know, I wasn't good enough, and it was all my fault and things like that. And so I knew it was my oldest girl who came and pulled me out of that, and she was like, "Mum, we still need you. We still need you." And so that was my wake up call. And I was like, okay, I've got to do something. I've tried a million times already. Let's take from those, you know, failed attempts, take everything that worked and just do it and just don't stop doing it. Because the only thing that really didn't work was me stopping. Yeah. All those other times was me giving up on myself. You know, I wouldn't get to my goal or I wouldn't run as far as I thought I would. So I'd be like, you can't even do it. Look, you can't even go without that bread or, you know, things like that. That's mind games. And that was the thing that I knew I needed to get past.
Yeah. And people don't realize that it is the mindset. It is the it's more so what you're thinking as opposed to the actual action of the doing. So like that's the reason why, like when you were talking about that, I was like, yes, it is a mindset. It is a mindset issue. You know, that we deal with. And I guess what was so you end up mentioning about your daughter, and she was kind of your catalyst. You know, your kind of wake up call. Sure. Now I'm guessing it would have been hard. Like it would have been hard for you to actually see that or see or actually experience that. Could you kind of share a bit about how that experience was? At that moment? Yeah. So
I was kind of like, it had happened. I had lost my baby. We had her funeral and things. And then like, I just started taking prescription drugs and I got really addicted to it. And just to blank it out, to pretend it didn't happen, like that's what I used it for. So I was taking 30, 40 tablets every single day just to numb the mind. Yeah. And then when I got to a point where I couldn't, like I knew it was bad, everybody knew, but, you know, I was thinking I was hiding it, but, you know, my husband knew, my sister knew, everybody knew. And I just kind of got to a point where I was just feeling guilty about it. And like I was spending no time with my kids and I was like, just not there because I was so, you know, drugged out on all these prescription drugs. So one night I was just like on the floor in my bathroom, just crying my eyeballs out, you know, contemplating life and didn't know where to go from here. And like, what am I even here for? And then my baby knocks on the door and she's like, "Mum, why are you taking so long? We need you out here." And I was just like, they do need me. Someone needs me. I'm coming. No, that was it. And then from the next day on, because that was a night, and the next day is when I started and never stopped.
That's crazy. And you know what? Like that just goes to show that the one thing that we like, you know, it's one of the many things that I've realized, but you know, for us humans, like all we want to do is feel needed. All we want to do is feel, you know, like be in that place of just feeling needed. And it was cool to see that just something as small as your daughter, you know, calling out for you, saying we need you, was that, you know, that catalyst for you. And it's something small, you know, it's not like a big thing, you know, it's not like, you know, big celebration of like, yeah, come on, let's go, we're gonna do it. It was just something so small.
Just
that had happened.
Being needed, because I was in a spot where I thought, you know, I was a failure. I couldn't even carry, you know, I couldn't even bring my baby to full term. I couldn't even, you know, make sure she was all right. And so that was the feeling that I was, you know, was pushing me down. And then when my big girl comes and she says, but we still need you. It's like, that's right. You know, I do still have babies to look after here. And I still do want them to have the best life.
Yeah. 100%. And you know, how, I guess for me, I'm feeling, you know, grateful for you making that decision, because I'm looking at you now and the influence that you have on other, you know, women or just people in general that are wanting to lose weight, because you have that story that you can share to them, and most importantly to your kids. You know, your kids are looking up to you and being like, wow, like this is my mom, this is my mama.
They think I'm famous.
Yeah, legit. And so yeah, no, I just want to say thank you for sharing a bit about that. We are actually going to get more into that story too at the end. But what I want to do is actually want to get people to actually know a bit about who you are, because I know that they've heard your story, they've heard like just a bit, and we're going to get real deep, you know, later on in the track. But I want people to know more about who you are and, you know, your upbringing and sort of things like that before your big story or that big setback that you had in your life. And so I guess my question to you, just to, you know, focus more on you and or the way I say is like focus more on the who. I want to focus more on you. So could you kind of share a bit about, you know, your background and your upbringing?
Yeah, of course. So I was brought up in New Zealand, back home, Hamilton. That's where I'm from, and pretty single family. My mum and dad split when I was about 6, so I was broken home, and I mean it wasn't bad. Like people say broken home, and you think, oh, it's horrible, but you know, my mum always put us first. So that's another reason, you know, why it was easy for me to realize my kids need me, was because my mum did the same. She gave up her social life and everything when she split with my dad, and she just focused on us. And so we had a good life. I mean, we weren't rich. We were broke all the time. We were always, you know, living paycheck to paycheck. But there was always love. You know, it was always it was a good life. And from there, I went to school. And then after I finished high school, my passion when I was younger was actually performing arts. I liked I love to sing, I love to perform. And then like I kind of carried on with that. I did my diploma in performing arts and things like that. But I started piling weight on and I started losing a lot of confidence with it. And I started, you know, hating the way I looked on stage, and, you know, I started, you know, hating myself and things like that. And then after that, I stopped performing. Obviously that kind of sunk me down a bit, and then I stopped performing as much, and I just got a regular job, and then I met my husband, and we started having babies and things like that, and the weight kept just coming on and coming on and coming on. So it was just like a downward spiral from there. Every time I would lose a little bit of weight, I would seem to get pregnant again. That seems to be what happens. But yeah, this has just been a huge, I don't know what the word is now. Progress for me. This is
Yeah.
There's a lot more to that story. I just can't think of it.
Nah, it's all good. I'll help you out anyway. So, just to clarify, so you know, you were born and raised in New Zealand, Hamilton. You know, came through, and one thing that you really loved was kapahaka. You know, doing the performing arts, and you came from a broken home. You know, not really broken to those out there listening and watching, but you know, parents were split up, and so obviously for you to see that division that was already, you know, it was already broken in itself just from that over there. You know, mum ended up, you know, just doing the single thing, you know, living a single life, which is pretty crazy because that's exactly what my mum's done. You know, I was, yeah. And like, you know, I'm Māori myself. So like mum's Māori. So obviously the Māori side, you know, really firm. Firm, very firm. Yeah, that's how I say it. Like, I'll just keep it real, like just real firm. And so I can fully relate to you when it comes to that, you know, being within that broken home. And but you know what's so cool is that we can be living testaments to those out there that are wanting to succeed, whether you do have parents or you don't, or whether your parents are together or not, you can still succeed. And we're living testaments to that, which is amazing. And so, yeah, I guess, I just wanted to kind of clarify, share, and just make sure that I'm on the right page. So, so in a nutshell, that's pretty much what you had shared, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. And so, I guess my question to you is like, how was it for you, knowing that your parents had split? So, back when you were younger, like, how was it for you, firstly, on, like, how did you kind of deal with that, knowing that your family went together, like, in terms of your parents?
Well, in my case, it was like good. No.
Okay, yeah.
It was not a happy home. It was, my dad was abusive, and my mum there was a lot of drinking and things like that. So when they split, we kind of noticed straight away that we became the center of attention, which is what we wanted and what we deserved. So we knew that it was a good call.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. And I guess, every parents, like, when they do split up, there's always a story. And one thing I've learned is that there's always three sides to the story. And obviously, if the parents would be mom's story, dad's story, and the truth. That's which is a kid. And so, I think, everyone has that story. Like, everyone has their own story as to why they leave. And, I think everyone makes assumptions as to, like, they're left for this reason, they're left for that reason, this, that. But I guess once you figure out the story as to why they did. And that's the reason why I asked the question. I was like, what? My head straight away was unfaithfulness, that probably may have happened, but I was like, legit, like, abuse was in the play, and that needed to be, cut off. And so, thank you. Like, I appreciate you sharing that, because, you made the decision to share that and open up about that, which is cool, because I know that there's probably people listening to this right now.
Yeah, well, that's why I don't hold back on what I share. Yeah. Who knows who it might help? Like, I'm happy to share it all.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, same as me. Like, I think one thing I've learned through life is that, the more transparent you are, I guess the more impact you can actually make on people out there. And I think that's something that you can relate to, knowing that you're in that space of, working with one-on-one clients. And is that something that you kind of live by?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it is. Like, everything that I've been through, I kind of just, everybody that I work with now, they just feel it. And like, sometimes I don't even need to explain what I've been through. They feel it when I train them. So it's good. Yeah,
100%. And so you shared about, your parents splitting up. And so obviously stayed with mum. You said of mum, yeah. And so was that everyone? Like, so was that all the kids? And then All right, cool. And so so moving on from there, you shared about kapa haka and performing arts. Could you kind of share a bit about, like, that bit more, as to, because I know that you're talking about you got your diploma in performing arts, but then obviously it came to a point where you ended up gaining weight and sort of things like that. But what was the passion? Like, what was the one thing that really made you say, you know what, like, I love this and I want to do this for the rest of my life?
I sing, and I love to sing.
Yo.
I sing very loud. And so I knew I could sing. Like, I knew I had a voice and I wanted to share it. Like, I'm all about that. Like, I just thought that was where I wanted to go. Like, I still sing, and but now it's kind of like just more with my kids and things like that. Like, if I had the chance to over here in Australia, I would get out there and do it again, because I'm much more confident now.
Yeah.
I'm ready for it.
Yeah. So in saying that, you saying that, like, you love singing, because you mentioned that you ended up gaining weight. So was that the one thing where, like, your self-esteem and your self-confidence started to drop down? And so as a result, that's pretty much the reason why you stopped, doing performing arts. Is that correct? Pretty
much. Like, I started to see videos of myself on YouTube and things, singing and that, and I just didn't like the way that I looked. Like, I didn't like the way that I looked, and I didn't want to be in front of the camera like that anymore. Like, it just really put it down on me. Yeah. And I just started, like, drinking all the time.
Yeah. And, like, you did mention, and you did mention too that you were using, you were using, like, substances, like, I think it was prescription drugs. Was that right? Or was that after? Was that actually when you were going through?
ever since, pretty much. Like once I started having confidence issues and things like that, the drugs and the prescription drugs and things, they were at that time I thought they were giving me confidence. So that's why I would keep taking them, because like when I would take it, I'd be able to go to the shop and talk to the checkout lady and things like that. And it wasn't as daunting because I wasn't all there. So so it seemed easier for me to just take pills.
Yeah. And you know what, though? I think, I've heard other people's stories and they're sharing that, they, utilizing different substances such as, prescription drugs or just drugs in general, or alcohol or smoking or cigarettes. It's crazy to see, how reliant it becomes just to meet their needs.
Yeah, for sure.
When in hindsight, yeah, 100%. Like you just want to, continue to consume, multiple cigarettes or multiple drugs, just to feel that need. But obviously, you already know right now that that's obviously not the case. And right now, and so, could you kind of share too, as to why is that the case? Because I'm only going because you have the experience of taking medication to meet that need, but knowing now that like you don't do that now and that you're a lot more healthy, why do you think it was the case for you that you were continuing to use those substances?
I'm not sure. I know it had a lot to do with confidence, and I don't know why I have confidence now and I'm not taking drugs. Like I'm still processing that, because it's only just recent that I've been able to do videos and things like that and talk to people again. So it's taken me a long time to get to this point. So I haven't figured out why I couldn't do this before.
Yeah.
It's so much like I'm remembering it now. Like before, I would go out and do things on the pills, and I didn't even know what happened the next day. Like I had no idea what I had done. But now, like I'm out here doing these videos and things, and it's awesome. It's like it's a totally different kind of buzz, and it's good. I'm still trying to figure out what the change was and everything like that.
Yeah. No, that's actually. I love the fact that you mentioned that, simply because I've been listening to a guy named Jim Quick. Jim Quick, he does this thing called Quick Learning, and I've just been listening to his podcast, and he shares a lot about things like exercise and how exercise can actually help your brain, and like things like talking about endorphins, dopamine and certain things like that. And so that could be possibly something that you can like look into. He's very strict, not very strict, but like he's very like on point. His name's Jim Quick. And so, probably check him out. Even I'll send it to you later. But yeah, for those out there, even listening to this too, if you're listening to this or watching this right now, and you're probably in a similar position to Sapphire back then, you're probably consuming drugs or focusing. It is a common thing, and it's crazy because I know that it may be of a hereditary, like it may be coming from just like basic genetics or like family. I know that when I was young, it's like, oh, if I see my dad drink, then I'm gonna drink. It's like monkey see, monkey do, children see, children do, and so I would always go focusing on that. But if you guys are wanting more information, that like check out Jim Quick. He shares more into that, and you can look into that too, sis. Just to get some more information on, because it'll be hectic to know exactly your why, because then you can start sharing it to everyone, saying this is exactly the reason why, or kind of like how the how, because I think we all want to know how how did I get to this point, and even that, like how can I get to your point, and so I think it'll be a lot more.
Actually, I wouldn't be surprised if it is from the exercise, because the feeling that I would get from after training and things like that was much more powerful to me than the drugs ever were. Like that feeling of, oh my gosh, I've just accomplished something I thought I would never do. That kind of gave me a lot of confidence too.
Yeah, and so Jim Quick talks about endorphins, and like that's the release. So when you're exercising, obviously there's the release, when you're sweating, certain things like that. So you're releasing like toxins and stuff. So in a nutshell, like endorphins actually helps you. So when you're doing like little things like going for a walk, like you're actually releasing like endorphins. But if you're doing like high intensity training, whether it's HIIT workouts or or wait. And by the way, guys, I'm not no professional, professional like PT or anything like that, but I do, listen to the professionals, and they do mention that too. So yeah, if you guys wanting to know more information on that, like check out Jim Quick. He just does really, really well in terms of like a lot of the learning side of things and educating. Yeah. And so, I was just curious to know exactly, whether you did or not. But you know what? I guess that gives you a bit of a challenge to see exactly.
I'm excited.
Yeah. Oh, and like, once you know, let me know, because like I'd love to know exactly where that
share
is.
It with everyone.
Yeah, and share it to everyone else too, especially to those out there that are watching and listening. So, So I just wanted to kind of like, because I was real curious. Because like you mentioned before that that you loved singing, and you still love it to this day. You still love singing, and it's funny because with the Maldives, like we're typically loud. It's a natural thing. I don't know how, I don't know why, but that's kind of like the trait that I got, from the Maldives side, which is being loud, and so you mentioned about performing arts. You love performing arts, still have a passion now, but there was obviously some sort of a turning point or a barrier that you went through, which was obviously your weight. You started to put on weight, and then that's kind of like been your shift where you're like, I don't want to be doing that. And it sounds to me that it was based on your self-esteem and your self-confidence of your image. Like it was just simply that. Like I feel like if you were blind, I reckon you'd still be singing. Like if you couldn't be seeing like anything, if you were just like literally blind, I reckon you'd still be singing. Is that something that you could probably agree on?
Yeah, I reckon too. Yeah, because it was just seeing that video of me performing that stopped it for me.
Yeah. Oh man, that is so cool. Like that's actually cool to know, because there may be someone listening to this right now that is probably going through what you're going through, or probably has gone through what you went through, and they're saying, "Oh, that's the only reason why I don't want to sing," or that's the keep singing. Yes, keep singing. And so I was just real curious to know because I always feel like there's always that little thing. It's just like, what was the thing that stopped it? And for you, it was just your self-image.
Yeah.
And it was so small too. It wasn't some big catastrophe. It was just a simple little thing. Which to me, I see that sometimes in life it's the little things that matters or that really counts in life. And I guess too that's something that you can agree on in terms of your training, because I know that you mentioned about your training. You were just doing little things. You're just doing little things, and I think there's an ad is like, from little things, big things grow. And it's so true. It is so true. Like if you guys just keep doing the little things right, whether if you're listening to this right and you're wanting to, and you're already getting inspired by Sapphire's story, as she's going to get deeper later on, just always know that it's the little things. The little things count. Maybe you're saying one step at a time, or one run at a time, because literally,
that's the secret.
and even that, you mentioned too, that you were doing training at home the whole time. Yeah, that's crazy. Like, people usually do the typical, I'm going to go to the gym, I'm going to sign up to a membership, and obviously
I've done that 10 times already.
I've done that too, so don't worry. I've done that too. I've done that once, and I didn't go back, and then I was like, I never want to go back because I have to pay a 24-month fee every month just to pay off, and that was a big lesson for me. But I'm cool. It's actually really cool that you actually stuck to it, because that was your comfort zone. That was your I guess your comfort kind of environment to actually be uncomfortable, like to work hard, which is amazing. And so so I guess my question to you now, like just to like head back into performing arts, if you were to get back in, what is it that you actually pursue? Because I know that performing arts is like a broad kind of concept or thing. What exactly would you actually be doing in terms of like performing arts? Like what would be kind of like your main focus that you'll do if you were to go back in?
I would say probably like competition kabaraka.
Yeah. Hey, and they go hard.
Oh yes.
They go hard. Yeah.
Training as well. No.
Nah, they go hard. Like, if anyone out there doesn't like really know much about kapa haka, can you kind of share just a bit about what it is, just for those out there, the foreign people?
So it's just performing in our language and our culture, and just it's a lot to explain.
Yeah.
But it's singing and actions and hakas, and it's just a lot of emotion, and it's like singing about our ancestors and just all sorts. It's just a big group of people performing together beautifully.
Yeah. Key word, beautifully, honestly, because I've never been to, I've never been to a kapa haka, like actually watch it physically, but I've watched it like, through a live stream, and I'm like, bro, like I'm literally just about to cry because of the emotions. And even that, just like you feel empowered. Yeah. Like you can feel it, like, and, and like, yeah, me too. Like, I legit, which is crazy. And you know what? Like, even though you're not doing, performing arts, or you're not, doing the singing and stuff, one thing you're still doing is you're still impacting people. You're still helping people out and making change, which is amazing. And so, just go back to what you were sharing in terms of your upbringing. So, you mentioned that. You loved kapa haka, you love doing the performing arts, you love singing, you love being loud, and then coming to a point where you end up gaining weight. What was the reason exactly? Did you kind of was there any reason as to why you were putting weight, or was it just because?
I think I'm not. Well, I was always big. Okay. I wasn't skinny before, but I was always a big girl. Like at school, all through that, I was the bigger girl of the class, of the school, and everything like that. So I'd always kind of had a little bit of confidence issues with that anyway. Yeah. But then as I grew up, and it kind of, I didn't have like a healthy family, or we weren't healthy. No one trained, no one worked out or anything like that. So I had nothing to try and get me out of that lifestyle. So I just increased it. As the years went on, I just kept living that same lifestyle and just got bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah. And you know what? You just saying that, it makes me think that like the people that you're surrounding yourself around can actually make a big influence as to the decisions that you make. So for example, like, for me, I grew up in a family where, one thing that we were all good at was sports, right? And so because my brother played sports and because I played sports, the rest of the family just ended up playing sport. And like, apparently we end up finding a passion in sports for some coincidental reason, right? Like, because out of nowhere, but really, realistically, because one person played and then another person played, it's like you only need two people, and then the whole family can actually be impacted, which from your story, it sounds to me that because no one was actually talking about it or doing anything about it or exercising, as a result, for you, you're just like, oh, I don't actually have to do that. Is that something that you can agree on?
Definitely. Like, that's exactly what happened. Like, I had no, role models or anybody to show me that's how I should be. That's what I should be worried about. You should be worried about your health. We had none of that. So I'm glad to be able to offer that to my kids and my nieces and nephews and things now, because they love it.
Yeah, and it's good too. It is good just to go out and and do some workouts or to do exercising, because let's be real here, right? Like in this generation, and at this time, like you've got things like an iPhone, you've got iPads, you've got all these technology and like your tablets, like everything that is all digital, and it's kind of like drifting people away from actually getting to little things like exercising. And so I'm curious to know, hey sis, like what is it exactly that you do to kind of keep your family healthy, knowing now that you're still on that journey too, like you're still on that journey of still maintaining your weight, and because I know for sure that you're maintaining your weight well simply because you haven't put it back on. A lot of people just lose weight and then they get back into the eating habits and then they go straight back on. Sure. So what is it that you do with your family that keeps you guys tight knit in terms of exercising?
So exercising, with my kids are still pretty young, like
yep.
Like, let's get on the treadmill now.
Yeah, get on now.
But like we are a lot more active. Like before the weight loss, my husband would be like, because my husband's really active. Like he's always been like that, and he's good like that. So we always had him, but before the weight loss, he would come to me and he would be like, come on, let's take this forward. And I'm like, nah, you go. Like, no thanks. Nah, you got this. I'm not going for a walk. And then like he would do it by himself. But now like we're all wanting to go for a walk. We're all wanting to go to the park. We're all like, we really enjoy it. And like kids group training and stuff like that. We do that every now and then. So my kids tend to train better with somebody else that's not me.
No. Hey, it's actually so true. Like,
so I'll usually try to bring in one of my friends or something like that to take them through little sessions and stuff like that. But they really enjoy it, dancing and things like that. It's the small things that make the biggest difference.
Yes, that is so true. It is actually so true. The small things actually make the big difference.
It'd be fun too, like make it fun.
And you know what's so cool too is that like because that's your passion now, like exercising and maintaining your weight and helping other people too. Like your kids get to see that too, which is amazing. Yeah. They don't get to see mum, upset, in the toilet, bawling her eyes out. They actually get to see you being like, oh, like mum's like super mum, she's like superwoman and she's actually helping other people. I want to do exactly what she does because, like, let's be real here. Like for me, I was always saying, you know what, like everyone has that typical, like, my dream goal or my dream job or my dream thing that I want to do is, to be, a policeman or just a typical, or like a nurse, like just typical things like that. But for me, it's like, I want to be like my mom, I want to be like, my dad. That's usually like kind of like the rooted side, the real reason as to, what exactly who we want to be. I feel like there's a facade of like, oh, you got your police officers, you got your, your fire engines and all, or firefighters. And then realistically, it's like we're actually wanting to mirror our parents. And so, it's so good that you're still doing this, you're still, doing the training and helping other people. And so, back to your story, after you started to, put on weight, there was a time where you ended up, having babies. So you have 3? Yep. So you have 3. And so, having your 3 kids was a blessing. And then obviously came to a point where there was this situation happened. So did you want to kind of share more into that? I know we shared at the start, but just for those out there that are listening.
Yeah. So when I had, this time, but the thing was, like, I had tried everything already to lose weight. So this time I knew, like, I really took from those experiences that this time, and I was like, okay, I tried all these, I tried Herbalife, I tried all these different weight loss things and diets, crazy diets and training all the time and all that kind of stuff, and keto. I tried it all, shakes, juices, all that stuff, and none of it worked for me. Like, obviously I'm still big, like it didn't work. So I need to make this time something that I can stick to forever. Like, it's not going to be a 4-week diet. It's not going to be, a week of fasting or anything like that. It has to be something that I can always stick to. Like, that's why I think that's why it's easy for me to maintain, because I never cut anything out of my diet. Like, I don't crave things because I have them when I crave them. Like, I just have less of it. And it does me. Like, if I cut that out, I'm going to binge it. When the time's up, I'm going to eat just that 10 times. No.
That's so true. It is so true. I think a lot of people don't know that.
Yeah. That's happened to me so many times. So I knew that wasn't going to work. I knew I couldn't cut out bread because I was going to binge it. I was going to have 10 loaves at a time. So I'd never cut it out. I just made better choices. Like, I chose a brown bread, and I chose to have not 10 slices of bread at a time. Like, I just cut back on everything, and that was manageable for me. And I was never hungry. I was never, like, missing anything because I was still getting it, just less.
No, oh man, like that actually, I know for sure that's impacting me because that was something that I went through too. Something similar to you. I said to myself, you know what, I do want to lose weight, or I do want to get into better shape or better health. Because I was in a similar position to you, like, feeling, self-doubt. And funny enough, I wasn't crazy enough. I wasn't even, I actually didn't go through a massive change. Like, it was just a subtle change, but it was a mindset, I started to change my mindset. I was like, it's the biggest one. Yeah, I actually changed my mindset. So, although I looked similar, I was like, no, I look like I'm a lot more confident because I know who I am, you know, or I know exactly who I'm not. You know, I'm a person that eats right, you know, I'm a person that I wouldn't say like, because like for me, it's like, yeah, you have your diets. I'm like, I just follow like healthy lifestyle. I just want to be living a healthy lifestyle, you know, getting your exercise in, you know, drinking water, like little things like that. And so crazy enough, like I want to share to those out there, if you're wanting to learn, you know, and I think this will probably be something new for you, sis, is there's a book called Atomic Habits. I'm not too sure if you are aware of that book, but it's probably the book that literally changed my life, and it talks about habits and it talks about systems. So that was one thing that actually helped me out to actually get into a habit of going to training, you know, 5 days a week. And so if you're and it's all based on habits, you know. That's the reason why you have trainers. You know, that's the reason why you have trainers out there, because they help you you know, build and maintain those habits. And so yeah, guys, if you guys are wanting a bit of resource, you know, check out that book too, Atomic Habits by James Clear. That's probably been a life-changing book for me, and I know that'll probably be a life-changing book for you guys out there. But yeah, so back to your story, sis. You know, you like you mentioned that you're taking all these, you know, diets, all these, you know, shakes, and like kind of every diet out there that can work. Could you kind of share, because I know that you have experience now in terms of, you know, being you know, training people and helping people, you know, lose weight themselves. What was it for you that made you realize that diets don't work?
It didn't work. No.
yeah, pretty much. It actually didn't work. The results showed, fam, it actually didn't work. But what was it for you?
Like they did work, but like it wasn't something I could keep doing. Like it worked for that short amount of time, but like when that diet was finished, like what now? Like I can't live like that forever, and I didn't want my kids to see that either. I don't want them to see diets. I want them to see healthy eating, which is not diets in my opinion.
Yeah,
like
100%.
It's good, like fasting and all that. Like now I see the value in fasting, so much value in fasting. Like I did it before, but now it's the same kind of thing that I got from running. Like that's how I lost weight, running. I tried fasting not even that long ago, probably like 2 months ago for the first time. And the mental gains that I got from it were just outweighed everything else. Like I was dying of starvation all day, but the next day when I felt the power of getting through it, I was like, hey, you know, my mind was telling me I was hungry, but I pushed past that. That was the win for me with fasting.
Yeah.
I'm still learning heaps of things along the way. It's awesome.
Yeah. And even that, like you just mentioning about, you know, fasting, it's like, you know, all these things are all based on the mental side of things, right? Like, yeah, it's all about building mental toughness. Like, I'll never forget, I was watching like my cousin done a video, and he ended up putting a video out saying that he had a stroke. So he had a stroke, and it was the aftermath. So after he finished his, you know, treatment and recovering, he actually done a video, and I never forget. I was like fully impacted by his story. He said this, and I'm pretty sure you can, you know, agree to this, that when we train, like because like this guy was doing CrossFit training, you know, he was going hard, and also doing, you know, zoo training too, which I know that's something that you guys do, you know, do too in your books. He was, you know, doing all these training, but then he still got sick, you know, he still ended up, you know, getting the illness. And so he ended up sharing one takeaway that he got. You know, he was reflecting, he's like, you know what I realized when it comes to training, we don't train to become like empowered to overcome these illnesses. It actually helps us to build resilience.
Yeah.
It's all about resilience. And I was like, damn, like that is so true. It's so true. That's the reason why we train. The actual real reason why is because we're actually building resilience. And so I'm guessing that's something that you had to build in terms of, you know, when you were fasting or even just when you train.
Yeah, definitely. It definitely is. Because like there was sometimes I was running and crying while I'm running, but I'm just like, I got to keep going. I can't go. You know, I got to beat my time from yesterday. I got to keep going. And that's, yeah, I like that.
Yeah, yeah. I loved it too, because like I told my cousin too that like, man, you don't realize that actually that shifted my perspective on the reason why I train now. Like I don't train to look good, you know, although these are bonuses, right? I didn't train so that I can show off to other people. I actually train because it actually builds my resilience, because when I'm going through struggles or, when I'm going through, an anxiety attack, like I can actually withstand it because the training is building me, it's helping me out. And so I'm guessing that's something that you can relate to in terms of your journey.
Yeah, for sure. And you see it a lot now, like with the people that I train, they're having a bad day, or, they're feeling depressed and things like that. So they message me and say, oh, I'm not feeling it today. I'm like, hey, exactly what you need.
Yeah.
This is like, if you don't come to training, you're going to continue the rest of your day with that same feeling. If you come to training, have you ever felt bad after a training session? No. So let's set you up for the rest of your day. And so they come.
Which is, like, it's crazy to say that, like, you're mentioning this, because there are people out there that are probably in their training, they're probably going through their training journey and they stop. They say, what, I'm going to stop now because I'm upset or I'm going through stuff. But I guess we we both know that the key when it comes to those moments is where, like, that's where you have to push just as hard. And that's where you have to come in and be like, what, I'm going to work my butt off. I'm going to make sure that I'll work it off. Yeah.
Time. Yeah. It's the most important time to train, when you don't want to. When you legit. You've got to get it in.
Yeah. And like I feel like that it's a mental side, right? It's the mental game, the mental challenges that you've got to overcome. I'll never forget this morning, I woke up this morning and I was like, bro, I don't want to get out of bed, man. But like I said to myself, no, Josh, you need to get up. There's people out there counting on you, and you have to kind of set that platform for other people. You got to lead by example. So I'm like, no, I need to get up. And so I got up. It's like, get up and walk the talk. Yeah. It's like, let's go, let's walk. It's like, oh, I can't be talking in bed. Like, let's walk and talk, Josh. Like, let's go. And yeah, like it's crazy to see how it's the little things, as we keep sharing throughout this podcast, we've been talking about the little things. It's like the little things count. It's the little things that you make, the little changes of, changing your diet, or changing the way that you eat, instead of, because, for us, our Māoris and Pacific Islanders, like, one thing we do is, like when it comes to dinner, we don't grab the small plates. We don't grab the small bowls. We don't grab the small cups, bro. We grab like the massive plate,
Yes.
And we're just feeding, we're just chucking all the food. And so
inhaling.
Yeah, and inhaling, yes. Inhaling, yes, 100%. And so like these are like the little things, right? Changing your portion. Instead of getting the big one, get the smaller one. It's all little mindset things.
Yeah. It's all like the little things like this, what we've been talking about. Like with training, with everything, like you can't go 100 at the start, because you got to keep that up forever. So you want to start 1%, one push-up, then just one push-up, then next day you do 2 push-ups. Like it's progress. That's how it's literally how I lost weight.
Yeah, and like that's the thing, like, because I was listening to your story and I was like, like she literally done it right. She done it the right way, which is, starting small, small increments, and then eventually she's actually going to get to the point. But like, it's like in due time, or like in due season, or like in due time, you're actually going to get there eventually. The goal is to eventually get there.
The start as well.
Yeah.
You have to tell yourself that I'm going to get there. If you have to tell yourself that every single day, then you have to tell yourself every day. But that's important.
Yeah, 100%. And so you were sharing about the kind of like the conflicts that you had made in terms of having like the issue with your baby before, like you're showing that at the start. Would you say that was probably the biggest setback that you had in your life, or was there something even far more greater?
No, that would have been that broke me. That was the worst.
Yeah. And so could you kind of share, because like I'm not a woman, that's number one, and number two, yeah, so the first thing, and two, like I'm not a father myself too, so I'm curious to know, like, how was the experience for you? Because I know that you had a stillborn, and like, what's the process behind that? Like, I'm curious to know, like, what's the go when it comes with that?
So, well, the thing was that I had 3 babies before.
Oh, okay.
So I had those babies all via C-section because they were complicated. So I hadn't actually had a baby naturally before. So once I got past the guilt and all that stuff, I started realizing that, hang on, maybe my baby knew that I really badly wanted to have a baby naturally, and the only way I could was if she had passed away. So that's the kind of thing that pulled me out of that mental struggle that I was going through, was just realizing, hey, because when I fell pregnant with her, I knew this was like a big deal. This is really risky for me. I already had 3 C-sections. I was about to have another one, and that things could have been. So I was like, not like I'd give anything to have her back, but like at that time I was like, am I ready? Like, I was second guessing it, and that's another thing. Like, I felt it. When it happened, when I lost her, those thoughts were like, oh my gosh, I've done this, those thoughts that I was feeling like I wasn't ready and I couldn't handle another C-section. That's why I'm not having her. That's all my fault. That's kind of what sunk me. Yeah. And then when I started, growing and getting out of it, I was like, hang on, like, I really, really wanted to have a baby naturally, and now I have. Like, I have. She might not be here, but like I had a baby naturally, and that's something I try to focus on now, so I don't get, because it still hurts. Like, it's always gonna hurt, but like, that's the big thing. Like, even when I walk past her photos and things in the house and her ashes and that, I'm like, I talk to her and I tell her, like, I'm thankful that she's sacrificed and things like that. So it's all growing.
Yeah. No, but you know what? Like, you just even showing that, like, makes me, think that, that there are other people out there that go through exactly what you've gone through. Sure. There's actually a lot more than what we think that are going through that. And so for those out there, right? Like, because I don't know, there may be someone, listening to that's gone, they've actually gone through exactly what you went through. They've had a miscarriage, or they had to have a stillborn. What is it that you would encourage them, like, specifically, like, because they may have just had it now. What would it, like, oh wait, you know what, let's change it up. If you were talking to your old self, right, if you're talking to the old Sapphire that was going through that pain, sorrow and not being able to hold your child, hold your child, what is it that you would say to them, to your old self?
I would probably just tell myself that it's not my fault.
Yeah. That's
the biggest thing. Like, blame, especially for a mother, like, you're always that's your body. The baby's supposed to grow inside you properly. But then when it doesn't, you're the broken one. Like, that's the guilt. Like, you take on all that guilt, whether you like it or not. But the main thing I would say is, it's not your fault. Like, shit happens. Like, it's not your fault. Honestly, it's a big thing to get past, but trust me, it's not your fault. Yeah.
And you know what? That's the reason why, to me, I honor women. I honor women so much because, for, I don't know for other guys, but for me, I'm like, no, I'm so grateful because they pretty much, they conceive, and then they obviously, they're the one that creates it at the end of the day. It's in their bodies. For us men, we're just like, yo, we just come in and we just make it happen, right? Yeah. It's like, and like, you know what? Like, so for me right now, like, I've built a brand under the notion, or like under the vision, simply because, like, I was a fatherless kid, right? Like, I was a fatherless kid, and I went through so much stuff, like not hectic. Like, I didn't go through, living in housing commission and stuff like that, but I did go through, a lot of, backlashes. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know my identity, stuff like that. And so, I get to actually jump on a journey with other, young fatherless kids, or even that, like, young men, myself, and we're doing the journey together of helping the fatherless actually find freedom. And it's crazy for me. Like, one thing I'm learning as a man is that for us, we can just do the simple touch and go, like, or tap and go, as they would say. But with the women, it's like they actually have to carry it for 9 months. And I've been like, what, I am so grateful, right? I'm so grateful and honored for the women out there, simply because they don't get much of the recognition that they deserve, especially yourself. And it's crazy because for us, we don't have the miscarriage, for men. Like, we don't have the miscarriage. We don't go through that. All we got to do is, like, we just help you out, and then you do the rest. Yeah, exactly. And so I guess that's just a bit of perspective, for the men out there that are listening to this. There's any men out there, like, just see it like that, see it that way, that, for women, they've got to carry, for 9 months, they have to do a lot of the work too. But we do the work too, but it's also on them too. So that's something that I like to keep it balanced. You want to keep it balanced at the end of the day. Yeah.
That's like, that was us too, because after that happened, my husband and I like fought a lot because I felt like he wasn't grieving as much as I was, and I was like, why are you blaming me? Like it was ugly. It was an ugly time, and him sticking by me through that really, really showed me how strong. Like, because I was horrible, I wasn't a nice person, and he's still here.
Yeah.
So it's teamwork, and like I guess for a woman it's always going to be a little bit harder, but for the dad too, like they might not show emotion like we show emotion, but there's emotion in the
It's just different. Like I think I've seen it and I've learned myself that like we just like in terms of emotions, we just shed it differently. Everyone expects, you need to be teary or you need to be crying to shed emotion, but it's like, everyone's expecting that, but it's just like we have to do it. I don't say we have to, but we just do it differently. Like it's just a different way of shedding emotion, and I guess that's what we have to do ourselves as men to figure out. I think that's one thing that leads to mental health too. Having mental issues is that guys just don't know how to actually shed their emotions.
Exactly. And I remember, like once I found my head in a better space and I could actually think back to that time, I actually remember my husband taking lots of long walks, and I was like, I didn't notice that then. I was thinking, he's gone now. Like I was just an ugly person, so I was just not looking at it like that. Thinking, getting into a better mind state and thinking back, I was like, hey, that's right. Like that may have been his way of coping. So, and then asking him about it, and it was like he went for a lot of walks and just to clear his head, and that was his grieving. Everyone's different.
Yeah, 100%. And it's crazy because people don't realize that when it comes to conflict, like just in general, it's on the littlest things that can be dealt so easily. Like you can just deal it straight away, but obviously you have things like your pride, your ego, that all comes
like, hey, why come back here and fight with
me? Yeah, legit. And so like in a nutshell, like that's kind of like the I guess for those that are like listening or watching, like these are things that we have to go through, but I guess it's all about pushing through. It's all about having that resilience and building that resilience, to do it together. And so I guess my next question to you, before we, land the plane in terms of your story is you mentioned your daughter, right? You mentioned your daughter and saying that she was like your catalyst, like she was the one that made you say, you know what, I'm going to do it. Take me back to that point, right? Like, take me back to that point. You were, in the bathroom. I don't know exactly what you're doing, but you were doing something, and like you're bawling your eyes out, and then like your daughter came, and then after that, you said to yourself that I'm gonna go hard. So after that, what is it that you actually done? Like, take me on like along that journey. Like so just after. So after that happened,
So once I made that decision, solid decision, it was, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do it tomorrow. I'm going to start tomorrow, and I'm not going to stop. And then I just kind of like sat down for a while. The next day, I kind of just sat down, and I was like, okay, that didn't work. That didn't work. That didn't work. So after that, I realized I pushed away all the things that didn't work, and I had a plan, and I just stood on my treadmill. I didn't want to, but I just pushed start, and then I just started jogging. So I started jogging real slow, jogging for 1 minute, and then I turned the pace right down after that 1 minute, turned the pace right down, and I walked for 59 minutes. The next day, I jogged for 2 minutes, and then I walked for 58 minutes. I built my running up 1 minute at a time every single day. I didn't have a rest day. I was going to do this every single day. I just did it every single day. Now I'm like, can run easy peasy.
Yeah. Which is honestly
10 days for my warm up every day.
Yeah, come on. which is so crazy because it's the little things, right? Like I know we've been harping on it, but it's the little things. Like it's crazy if you didn't start running for a minute. I don't think you would have got to the 2 minute mark, or the 3 minute. To the point now where it's easy, like I always one thing I believe in is that if you're actually wanting to grow in terms of your training, like one of the best ways that you can do that is through saying, you know what, like my goal is to make my workout my warm up.
That's it.
You know, it's like if you want to really challenge yourself, it's like the workout that you have, like you'll know straight away that you've increased or like you've grown so much when that becomes your warm up. You know, it's like a 10-minute HIIT workout is like a workout for everyone, but that ends up becoming your warm up into your actual training. And it's like little things, it's like little things like that. But yeah, so now what I want to do now, like as we start landing the plane of your story is, you know, like you've shared everything, right? You've shared about your upbringing. You shared about, you know, your love for kapa haka and performing arts, and then you shared about, you know, the story of where, you know, you end up, you know, being real big. Like you're already big growing up, but like you end up getting bigger, and then that's when you started stepping away. And then obviously this happened with your miscarriage. So knowing that all this had happened, could you kind of talk to us what you're doing right now, you know, in terms of your in terms of working like helping other people out? Could you kind of share just to the people out there, like, you know, the brand and what you guys are doing?
So what I do is I focus on people one-on-one. Like I prefer to train people one-on-one, but I'm also a trainer for Victorious, which is group sessions, which I love because that is what brought me out of my comfort zone. Like crap, that's the reason I'm able to talk on this video right now, because I still had no confidence training in my shed, but they've given me the confidence that I needed. So I'll always push people to, because some people aren't ready for one-on-one, some people aren't ready for group sessions. So I like to push people to things that have worked for me. So if it's working for me, I'm going to make you do it, okay? No. Like, I promise you, I know, like, I've been there. And, like, the people that I train know that I've been there. They know my story. They know I'm not mucking around. I'm not sugarcoating anything. I'm telling you like it is. You swear at me all you like. I like that. Like, it's going to hurt. You might cry. I might cry with you. It's not going to be pretty. I just don't sugarcoat, and I let them know from the start that this is going to be hard and it's going to be forever. If you want to make that change, I'm here with you. I've got you. Like, that's it.
And you know what, too? You just saying that right now is so uplifting to other people. You know, one thing I've learned, you know, through my life and my journey is all you want to do is feel like you belong. Like once you feel like you belong in a certain area, or if you belong in a certain group, then it'll come to a point where bang, like you're locked in, and it'll come to a point where you never want to leave. Like you never want to leave. You know, say for example for you, like you're doing your one-on-one sessions. Like when you're connecting with people, it's like, you like as much as I'm making you feel like you belong, you actually make me feel like I belong in terms of my role to help you out to make a change, which is same thing, little things, right? It's the little things that actually count. And so you like knowing that you're showing all this stuff. Like this is my last question before we wrap up. My last question to you, which is crazy because I'm actually really enjoying this and I can actually go a lot longer, but we do need to wrap up this podcast. My question to you is, what is the end goal? You know, what's the end goal for Sapphire? Like, knowing that you've gone through all this, what's your end goal? Like, you know, you're at your deathbed and you're saying to yourself, you know what, I'm so grateful that I've done ... So what is that for you?
I don't know. I think, like, I'm not sure. I don't have, like, a big, like, I don't do this for money. Let's be real. I don't do this for money.
Come on.
Any goals like that. I don't, like, it actually took me a long time to start charging people for their sessions because I felt bad about it. Like I'm genuinely want to help you. Like I want to show you the way. I want to show you how I got there. It is possible. The main people that I work with in here are struggling mentally. Like my sessions are hard, and they're not hard so that you drop weight fast. They're hard so you get past that mental struggle. So that's what I do here. And when I see somebody who's, you know, like I've been training a lady for so long and she's always wearing a hoodie and things like that, and then I see her put a photo on Facebook and she's, you know, in a crop top or a singlet, I'm like, oh my gosh, goosebumps. I'm like, that's it for me. Like just being that person for somebody and being able to show somebody the way. That's the biggest goal in this role for me. Like as a trainer, that's what gives me life.
Yeah, like energy and like enthusiasm to keep going.
Like the way my ladies and things that I train, they like laugh because I'm like, oh my God, I'm freaking out when they do something they haven't done before, when they lift a certain amount of weight and they've been trying to get it for so long. I buzz out more than anybody because I know how big it is and I know what progress it's going to bring. So yeah, it's good.
Yeah, and you know what? It's all about those small wins, eh? Like when it comes to your training, like you need to celebrate those small wins. And it's crazy because you do it straight away. Like you do it instantly. You're like, yo, let's go. Like, you get so energized, which is amazing because, if I was getting trained by you and I ended up getting a PB and you're like fully energized, I'm like, okay, that's good. But if you're not saying anything, I'm like, okay, I don't know if it's anything. So that's amazing. It's amazing what you're doing. And
it's an achievement for me too.
Yeah. And that's the thing, that brings me back to this podcast. Me doing podcasting, a lot of people say to me like, I've been impacted. I'm like, you don't realize I'm getting impacted myself. Like I get the real massive honor to actually interview them to get their story out, and they don't realize that I'm getting impacted by their story. Which is amazing, and we're all getting impacted. That's the whole goal of this podcast. Yeah, which is crazy, and so. In terms of time, we are wrapping up now, which is pretty sad. I'm not actually keen. I still want to go, but we do need to land this plane. And so I just want to say, Sapphire, thank you so much for jumping on and taking out your time. I already know right now that you do actually have things to do right now, and you do have a busy schedule. And so I guess one thing that I would love for you to share to people out there is that there may be someone being impacted by what you're saying, or even that, just see you as like a massive role model or an influencer, as I would say. What is it that you could possibly share? Any encouragement or anything that you'd love to say to those out there that are listening?
I would say, probably depending where you are in your journey, because I've been through a lot, but I've noticed mainly my people that come to me want to know about the weight loss, and so I would say if you are. See, I was 150 kilos at my biggest. Wow. If you are anywhere near that, if you're any size, if you're super overweight and you're thinking that that's the end of you, let me tell you now, that's not. All you have to do is choose something that you can do, that you can stick to, you can stick to it, and work on it every day. Work on you for 1 hour, whatever that may be, whatever. Could be going for a walk, could be trying to do a push-up, could be, anything, absolutely anything. Just make yourself a priority. Make yourself a priority for 1 hour every day. It's not much. There's still 23 to go. It's only 1 hour.
Yeah.
Just keep going and never, ever stop.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm getting impacted right now. Yeah, but hey guys, that is pretty much it. That is all that we got. Thank you for jumping on, sis. So for those out there that wanting to connect with you, what's the best way that they can connect with you in terms of any more information or?
Probably Facebook, Sapphire. Yeah. That's all I use is Facebook. That's all I know how to use. I'm not. I'm not good like this. yeah. Which is totally fine. Trust the process.
Yeah. So guys, for those out there that are watching this through our YouTube channel, make sure you guys check out our links down below. That's where her social media handle will be. And for those out there that are listening to this either through Spotify or Apple Podcasts, make sure that you guys check out our Instagram page. That is our main platform. She will be promoted there, but we will have the links through our Facebook page too. We do have a Facebook page, and we'll make sure that her links are in there too. And so, guys, that is all that we got. Thank you, Sapphire, for jumping on. Thank you to everyone that is taking their time out to watch this and listen to this, and we'll see you guys in the next one.